ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
The LouieTeeNetwork is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be? For me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to Sunday Night Football Overtime. Packers, Cowboys. What a ball game. What an effing game that was. Worth the price of admission. Not the impact that a lot of people thought Micah Parsons would have. I told you guys on the skill game that I thought his impact would be overrated. I said he wouldn't get a sack, and he didn't get one until overtime. Technically, he got one, but he really didn't impact this game. I didn't think he would. But did I see 40 points on both sides being scored? Absolutely not. Did I see a tie coming? Absolutely not. But I'm glad that that's what we got. One, neither team deserved to lose this game, I will say. Two, neither team deserved to win this game. And three, boy, does a tie look ugly. And I want no parts of it. So I love it on both sides. Coming away with the tie here. The Cowboys still have a losing record on the season, so I love that. The Packers, they sort of have like diminished the aura that was around them. You lose to Cleveland, then you turn around and you give up 40 to Dallas without CeeDee Lamb, and it kind of tarnishes what they had built in the first 2 weeks, which is why you don't overreact to early results in the season. But they're still a good football team. Don't get it twisted. Hell of a football game. Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? 3 Romeo dub touchdowns tonight. George Pickens goes ape shit and scores 2 of his own, goes over $130 receiving tonight. Just a hell of a game on both sides. Dallas's defense is as advertised. It stinks. It's the second time they've almost given up 40. Gave up 37 to a bad Giants offense. Gave up 40 to a very machine-like Green Bay offense tonight. Gave up 31 to the Bears last week. So they've had trouble stopping any and everyone this season. But nonetheless, the defense didn't get it done, but the offense absolutely did. And I'll say this before we get to Green Bay. We'll start with Green Bay. They have the better record of the two teams, even though there's no actual winner tonight. I'll say this. Dak Prescott is in Dak Prescott regular season mode. When Dak Prescott is healthy and he's right, in the regular season, you'll find few better. Like we've gone through this with him before. Like we've seen him play at this level before. We've seen him play at a high level. You know, he's always struggled with Green Bay. You know, and you know, my dad is a Cowboys fan. You guys know that. And Boss Man was like, you know, he picked Green Bay as his survivor pool pick, which I felt like it was a bit of a happiness hedge. You know how people do that when if their team wins, well, shit, we won. I don't care. I got eliminated. Bullshit. That's over $1,000 on the line. I'm not happiness hedging a goddamn thing. Right. But I felt like he happiness hedged tonight because while he did expect Dallas to lose because of their defense, he's probably pleased with the way they played tonight. But to not come away with the win and still be eliminated from the survivor pool because a tie is not a win, you are eliminated, that has to suck, and it's the worst of both worlds, essentially. However, this is the regular season Dak Prescott, and he didn't think that Dak was going to play well because he usually doesn't play well against two teams in particular. He doesn't play well against San Francisco, and he doesn't play well against Green Bay. For whatever reason, those two teams Dak Prescott struggles against. That was his rationale for picking Green Bay as his survivor pool pick, that in addition to the defense. Well, Dak played really well. He was exceptional tonight. And, you know, look, I know he came into the game tonight with 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. But to me, he's been really good this season. Should have won week 1 against Philadelphia. I thought he was phenomenal against the Giants. And if not for his heroics in that game, they don't, you know, and of course, Brendan Aubrey, they don't win that game. I thought he was really good last week against the Bears. I know he threw 2 interceptions. One of them was not his fault. Right off of George Pickens' hands. And the other one was like desperation, fourth down. You got to have it. If you don't complete this, the game's over anyway. They were down 3 scores at the time. I have to kind of throw that one out of the window, whatever. But I thought he played well last week. He can't help that Pickens can't catch on the one interception. And then Javonte Williams has the ball taken from him like a bitch. Like he literally had the ball taken. Like, give me that shit, man. Like you see that so rarely, right? So I thought Dak was absolutely money tonight again. But again, we've seen this from him. It's not the regular season, if you're a Cowboys fan, that you're concerned about with Dak Prescott. This is what he does. He's like Tony Romo. He wins in the regular season. It's the postseason where you already know what time it is with Dak Prescott. Sort of like Lamar Jackson, right? Anyhow, let's talk about the Green Bay Packers and what they did tonight. This was a weird game because it felt early on like this was going to be one of those Packer ass whoopings, belt to ass against the Cowboys type of situations. They get off to the fast start with the, touchdown on the opening drive, 7-0. Dallas has nothing going offensively. They don't even have a first down through the first quarter of the game. You get to the second quarter, it's much of the same. The Packers go down, they score another touchdown, and they're really rolling here. Defensively, they've got Dallas all kinds of basity. Offensively, they're doing what every team has done up until this point against Dallas, and that's whatever the hell they want to. It's 14-0 or 13-0, and they go to set up for the extra point, and then all of a sudden, can I say this just as an aside? Put a pin in this game for a second. I know a lot of you are junkies like me. You watch the NFL. You've been watching a lot of football this season. And I don't like to be a prisoner of the moment. I hate doing that because sometimes I feel like we do that. You see something and it's the best thing ever. It's the craziest thing ever. Oh my God, that was the best game I've ever seen, etc. We do that from time to time. But is this not the most kicks you've ever seen blocked in the first month of an NFL season? I don't ever remember this many kicks getting blocked. Either the protection up front is getting worse or teams are getting better at blocking kicks or they care more about blocking kicks. I don't know what it is. I don't know what to attribute to the amount of kicks that I've seen blocked. Hell, just in the last 2 weeks, forget about the entire month of September, but we got to include the entire month. But if you just look at the last 2 weeks, you're talking extra points, field goals, punts. I've never seen this many kicks blocked, altered, etc. We had another game that ended in a block kick in the Raiders-Bears game. I've never seen this shit before. And you're getting guys off the edge. You're getting guys flying. The guy off the edge never blocks the kick. He's too far away. He never gets a finger. He always flies over there, and it looks pretty. He never touches the ball. I've seen 2 kicks today blocked by the guy on the end that's never supposed to touch the ball. And in this game, the Cowboys get a guy inside on an extra point to block the kick. And it's scooped up, run for 2 points, and you're just like, that's some weird shit. It's 13-2. The hell am I watching right now? And at the time, it felt like inconsequential. It's not going to matter. They haven't done anything on offense to this point. Those 2 points aren't going to, swing this game one way or other. All contraire, my friend. That 2 points was massive. That was a 3-point swing, and that is the reason this game even went to overtime in the first place. So that gave Dallas momentum. You never know, and I always talk about field goals, missed field goals, etc., as momentum shifters, right? Plays in games that can change the trajectory of a ball game. Uncle Mo is sitting comfortably. Some dumb shit happens on the field goal. You miss. You give up field position. You also lose momentum because you missed the kick, and all of a sudden the game changes like that. We saw it in week 1 with Chicago and Minnesota, right? A missed field goal and can change everything. Well, a blocked extra point changed the entirety of this football game. It went from 14-0. Dallas has been smothered defensively. The Packers are moving the ball with ease offensively to, oh shit, let's wake up. The crowd gets involved. Dak takes them on a touchdown drive. And all of a sudden now, it's 13-9. and it's a totally different ball game. And then next thing you know, you look up, fumble from Jordan Love. Dallas is back in the end zone again. And I'm like, what the hell just happened? How did we get here? You know, like, how did we get here? It's now 16-13 in a game that the Packers have absolutely dominated in. Just like that, in the blink of an eye, they're trailing at halftime. So, great catch by Pickens. Dak runs one in, and next thing you know, the Cowboys have taken the lead, and it all started with a blocked extra point. So nothing feels safe anymore. No kick feels like it's an automatic, not extra points, not chip shot field goals, nothing. Like the Steelers had a kick block today, right? A 31-yard field goal blocked. Like no kick feels safe anymore. That was off the edge, just like the one tonight or the one with the Bears game. Off the edge with the guy that's never supposed to touch the football. So that was huge. But if you're Green Bay, you don't fret at the turnover and the quick 2 touchdowns by Dallas, because you say to yourself, they can't stop us. We are only stopping ourselves. And they got right back to it in the second half, started to move the football, went down, and then the two teams just started exchanging points. Like it felt like it was just touchdown after touchdown. I'm not sure if we saw a stop in the second half. You guys can fact check me on that. I'm not sure that from the halftime score of 16-13, I'm not sure we saw a stop the rest of the game. I'm actually curious to see. You know what? I'm going to leave it alone. I'll let you guys tell me if we got to stop the rest of the game. It doesn't feel like we got a second half punt. I could be wrong about that. But it felt like every time Green Bay went down and scored, Dallas went down and scored. Green Bay went down and scored, Dallas went back down and scored. Green Bay went down and scored, Dallas came back and scored. It just felt like we were going tit for tat, tit for tat, tit for tat. And they couldn't stop Josh Jacobs on the ground. They couldn't stop Romeo Doubs inside the red zone, inside the low red zone. And then the Packers have so much depth at receiver. We talk about it all the time. Like they don't have a true number one wide receiver, but they have so many guys that they can throw at you. Dontavian Wicks and Malik Heath and Romeo Doubs and, Golden, the rookie, their first round pick. And they could go to the tight ends if they need to. And they did that a little bit tonight. Then they bring in the backs and those guys, and that's a deep group as well, right? And they just kept peppering the Cowboys with different guys. Boop, boop, boop. And Jordan Love was just surgical. They didn't get any pass rush. Typical Cowboys, right? They can't really get to the quarterback. Usually they've had success stopping the run up until tonight. They did not really stop the run as effectively as they had leading up to this game. But credit the Packers for being able to make some big plays and some big moments. You had a crucial, after Dallas took the lead 34-30, or it was 30. It was, I think Dallas took the lead 30-27. They, on a third down, a crucial third down, Jordan Love hits Doubs for his third touchdown of the game to give them the 34-30 lead. That's huge because you already know who you're dealing with on the other side. If that's a 30-30 game, you're going to lose this game 33-30 because they're just going to kick a field goal with Brandon Aubrey and you're going to lose. So that's a huge play. That's a massive play in the game, right? You don't convert the touchdown there, you're going to lose this game 33-30. They knew that. How about the overtime? Right? First of all, how about moving the ball down in regulation, getting it down in the field goal range? I thought they could have gotten a little closer. They had all their timeouts. I thought they could have gotten a little closer, but they played it conservative. But when you feel confident in your kicker, you can do that. And he drilled it from 53, I believe it was, right down the middle. Center cut would have been good probably from 60. So when you feel good about your kicker, you can play it safe there. But how about in overtime? It's 4th down and 6. This is the game right here. And they go to Matthew Golden, their rookie, and he confidently catches it with his hands, gets the first down, keeps the drive alive, and sets up an opportunity to win the game with a touchdown. Now, that late game execution was abysmal. And I've seen as a fan of a team that has mucked up some late game, late half situations, that was way too close for comfort for me. To see, first of all, I thought that they were going to just spike it, right? At that point, once you got that ball inbounds, the clock's running with 14 seconds, you got guys in the end zone running back. At this point, Love needed to just settle the crew. Hey, y'all calm down, relax. We're going to spike this thing, get lined up, and you spike that thing. Or if your kicker preferred it somewhere else, right? If you wanted it on the other hash, you could move it over and then bang your first of all, they didn't have a timeout. So excuse me. They're already called their last time out. So at that point, you settle everybody down, get that thing to about 3 seconds, and then you spike the hoe, and then you bring out your kicker to go ahead and win and tie this game up, send it, tie it up and have this thing end in a tie. But that was ballsy. And it almost backfired. To take a shot at the end zone. And he's, again, Mike Tirico made a great point. He's lucky that thing hit off of the back of Jack Sanborn, the linebacker for Dallas, and didn't go over everybody's head, because the clock doesn't stop until the ball actually hits out of bounds or it hits the field of play on the ground. So he was lucky that it hit the Cowboy. It didn't carry him into the air or anything like that would have taken that last second. It hit his back and fell straight down and left 1 second. That was way too close for comfort. And you saw Matt LaFleur giving Jordan Love an earful on the sideline. Bro, what the were you thinking right there? You cannot do that. He got away with one there. McManus calmly comes on the field, ties the game up, and ends this thing in a 40-40 tie. What a football game. But wow. I mean, you talk about drama at every turn, from the Packers taking the lead on that big third down that I talked about when it was 30-27, to the Cowboys then coming back down and scoring a touchdown of their own to retake the lead at 37-34. Then the Packers having to go right back down the field and tie the game up to send it to overtime with the 53-yard field goal. Then the Cowboys going down there, having a chance to score a touchdown with the opening drive of overtime, not being able to get it in the end zone, having to settle for the field goal, then having a chance to get a stop on 4th and 6 in overtime, can't get the stop. Packers then have the control of this game because the Cowboys no longer have any timeouts. So now they control the outcome of this game, whether they decide to, tie this thing up and have it end in a 40-yard tie, which is what ultimately happened, or if they can find a way in the end zone and win this thing 43-40. They had the keys to this game, essentially, once the Cowboys used both of their timeouts. And so it was so much drama. And then a crazy finish, obviously, with Love, almost throwing the game away and the Cowboys escaping with a 40-37 victory. Just crazy, insane stuff here. And then you also had to factor in, is this kick going to get blocked again? Because they already had one block earlier in the game. They had one block last week against Cleveland, which ultimately led to their loss 13-10. So I'm thinking in the back of my mind, none of this is safe. None of this is routine. None of this is automatic. They could have this kick to go to overtime blocked. They could have this kick in overtime blocked. None of this feels like a formality. So there was a lot to take in here, but boy, was that some really high quality stuff. No defense. This game was full of offense. There was no D in the defense tonight, but this was a lot of fun to watch, both of these teams going at it. And now they got a 1 in the tie column, and there's nothing nastier than looking at records and having that extra digit there. Just yuck. Ugh. And this is an early season tie. This, if this happens in week 15, okay, you don't have to do it for long. This is week 4. You got a tie on your record for the rest of the season. It could ultimately be a blessing in disguise, because a tie is better than a loss, obviously, but it also could hurt you, right? If you're Dallas, you needed to be 2-2 right now, not 1-2-1. But if you're Green Bay, you're shit, it beats being, 2-2. You would have preferred to be 3-1 right now. But if you're Dallas, you needed to be 2-2, right? I mean, who are we kidding? So look on the bright side of your Dallas. You're better than the Giants right now at 1-2-1. Now you look at Dallas on from their side of things. I continue to be really impressed with Javonte Williams. This is the Javonte Williams that the Broncos had in his rookie season before the ACL injury. He's back to the form that we saw from him, and people were excited about, when he was in Denver after that rookie season. He continues to play well. Pickens was really good tonight, had to step up, and he did. So that's a great sign if you're a Cowboys fan. He's still a crash out, right? You still don't know what you're going to get from him, but we know the talent that he is, and he showcased that tonight. He continues to be a guy that can definitely take some of that burden off of the shoulders of CeeDee Lamb. Didn't have him tonight. It wasn't a problem. He stood up and was the number one guy for them with no problems tonight. I thought the offensive line for Dallas, this was a much maligned group. This was also a Packers pass rush that seemed to be very ferocious the first 2 weeks in particular. Not necessarily as much last week, but they got after Flacco last week too. And so many people thought, oh my God, they're going to kill Dak. And, the Cowboys are playing musical chairs up front with their offensive line. And they really kept Dak pretty clean tonight. Dak did a good job of maneuvering within the pocket to keep himself clean, but he really was upright tonight. They kept him clean. He was able to deal from the pocket most of the night. So you got to give them credit there. This defense is woeful, though. Like, Deron Bland is just bland, right? Deron is just bland, right? Like, that was a PI at the end of the game, too, that he got away with, on that 3rd and 6 when they took the deep shot. That was a PI. Trayvon Diggs played a little bit tonight. Almost had a pick. That was negated by a penalty on Dallas. Too many men on the field. But he actually tackled tonight, which was shocking. If you're a Cowboys fan, you don't get that from him very often. But he threw his shoulder in there. He had a nice tackle on that wide receiver screen that they tried to throw to Matthew Golden in overtime. So you got to credit Trayvon Diggs for stepping up tonight in a physical capacity. But the defense stinks. Oh my God, this defense is awful. I mean, they didn't stop the run. Like that was the one thing they could hang their hat on, was that at least we stopped the run. We don't do anything else. Well, they didn't do that tonight either. They didn't stop the run. I think the Packers might have had two guys over 70 yards rushing tonight. Okay, Emmanuel Wilson, 8 carries, 44 yards. He came in and they had no answers for him. He almost averaged, he averaged 5.5 a pop. Josh Jacobs, almost 4 yards a carry, 22 carries, 86 yards. So he held him relatively in check, but it felt like he was getting a good, decent amount almost every carry, it felt like. And then they averaged almost 5 yards a carry tonight. So they really struggled stopping the run, did Dallas tonight. Jordan Love obviously went over 300 yards. He had over 300 yards before the end of regulation. So they had no answers for him. And so this defense continues to struggle. And I don't think the answer is on the roster. I don't think there's anything they can do. There's no magic wand. There's no player that they're waiting on, although I don't think he's coming back this year. But I forget the name of the linebacker. Overshown. He's really good. He's really good. So you get him back, that could change some things. The Marion Overshown is really good. But they just stink on defense. It is what it is. But for the second time this season, the offense was able to bail out the defense. And despite every time the Packers went down and scored, the Cowboys had an answer offensively. And again, you got to give credit to Dak Prescott. That throw he had to Tolbert when he was rolling out to his right under duress. Come on, man. Like, when you seen Dak Prescott doing shit like that? Like, you got to keep it a bean. You might not like Dak, but that's a hell of a play, bro. Like, you really got to give him his props. Like, okay, Dak is out here dealing right now, because Dak don't do shit like that. But it was a big night for the offense on a big stage. They didn't want Micah Parsons having a massive impact, and he didn't. And I didn't think he would. I told you guys I should have put my money where my mouth was and had him for less than a sack. I would have lost anyway, because he ended up with a sack in overtime. But I didn't think he was going to get a sack. I told you guys that. And if anybody should know how to block Micah Parsons, it's Dallas. They went against him in practice every day. So I figured they'd be able to hold up against him. But I was impressed because they didn't always chip and double him or none of that shit. They just left guys on an island, and Dak did a good job of stepping up in the pocket, and their guys did just enough pushing him up the field to, minimize his impact in this game. So credit them for just neutralizing Micah Parsons. And they didn't spend so much time worrying about him to the point where it allowed Lucas Van Ness or Rashawn Gary or some other guy, Devontae Wyatt or somebody else, to start getting their shit off. They just said, hey, you're a good player. We know where you are at all times. We acknowledge where you are. So I know I got to be mindful that you're coming from this side of the field. If I got to get rid of it, or if I got to slide, or if I got to step up, I know where you're coming from. But they didn't overcommit to protecting themselves from Micah Parsons. And if you can afford to do that, right? Because it neutralized the rest of that line. Like, they feed off of Micah Parsons being a disruptor to where other guys start to get involved. So I thought they did a really good job of neutralizing him. And guys stepped up. Tolbert stepped up. I talked about Pickens stepping up. We knew Ferguson was going to be a big-time, high-volume target tonight, and he was. But you got to credit every single guy, like Flournoy. Like, he had some big plays in the game, right? So everybody chipped in. When you're missing a big-time target like CeeDee Lamb and all the production that he provides, everybody's got to chip in and do their part. And they did that. Unfortunately for them, as it's been a theme all season long, the defense just didn't do their part. And so instead of this being a big night with a win on national television on a night where Micah Parsons was supposed to destroy the Cowboys and show them why they made a mistake, Dallas had an opportunity to flip the narrative on its head, get a massive win, get back to 500, and really silence a lot of critics. Instead, the defense continues to be a big problem and a sieve for this football team. I don't know how many games you're going to win against quality opponents playing the kind of defense you played tonight. And you played in week 2 against the Giants. And hell, even to a lesser degree, you played in week 3 versus the Bears last week. I don't know how many teams you plan on beating playing that way, right? You got some high octane offenses on your schedule, teams that can really light up the scoreboard. I can't, and again, these are teams that defensively are going to be better than what you saw today, right? Like, the Packers struggled today. And I did not expect, I don't think any of us expected a shootout, right? We expected what we saw early in this game, which was the Green Bay's defense smothering Dallas's offense. And then I don't know what happened after the block extra point, but it's like Green Bay's defense never rebounded from the block extra point that had nothing to do with them. Just all of a sudden, that's football, that's sports. Momentum is a dangerous thing. And once that momentum left their sideline, they were never able to recapture it. But you're going to play teams with better defenses with just as good offense. You're not going to be, it's going to be more like last week's, result. If you continue to struggle on defense, you're not going to beat a lot of teams giving up 40, giving up 37, giving up 31, like you did the last 3 weeks. You're fortunate. You're very fortunate to even be at 1-2-1, if we're being honest, because you easily could have lost against the Giants, and you probably should have lost tonight, but you easily could have won tonight too. It's just crazy how this thing goes. But what a phenomenal football game that was. I find it hard to believe that we'll see a better primetime game the entire season than a 40-40 tie with everything that felt like it was at stake, because again, Green Bay fancies themselves as one of the best teams in the conference, right? You needed to win this game. You couldn't afford to lose this game, if anything. You couldn't afford to lose, which they didn't, but you needed to win this game. This could have ramifications down the road. Same for Dallas. Like, Dallas's schedule is about to ease up a little bit. I think they got the Panthers and the Jets coming up, some winnable football games. If you win this game, you could have looked up and the Cowboys could have easily been at 4-2 going into a big matchup against the Commanders in week 7. Now, all of a sudden, the best you can do is 3-2-1 going into that game. If you take care of business, assuming that you take care of business against those two teams, again, with the way you're playing offense and defense right now, who's to say that any of those games are a layup, right? So you're going to see what the Cowboys do here over the next couple of weeks. If the defense gets their act together against some teams that aren't as good offensively, maybe this is exactly what the doctor ordered for them to get their defense on track. They start playing better defense against a couple of offenses that aren't great. Maybe they gain some confidence, and then all of a sudden the defense starts to play better as the season wears on, and the offense continues to play at a very high level. We'll see. But this was a tough one. You really wanted to get this one if you were Dallas. This would have done a lot for your confidence and would have done a lot for momentum moving forward. Same can be said for Green Bay. Now, this doesn't like a tie feels like a loss, even though it's not. Like there's an empty feeling after a tie. As a fan who's experienced a tie before, it leaves this empty, like unfulfilling feeling after a game. Like, what do I do with this? This is not hockey. This is not soccer. You're not okay with the tie. It's not, you don't leave a tied game feeling good about yourself. You just feel like, damn. Shit, we just tied. Like, what do I do with this shit? Can't get jiggy with this shit. What do I do with a tie? If you're Green Bay, that coupled with what you did last week, this feels like a 2-game losing streak. Even though it's a loss and a tie. You were riding high just 2 weeks ago. Shit, everything was all good just 2 weeks ago. Now, all of a sudden, you're 2-1-1. And you're asking yourself, what the hell just happened? So, lot of fun football tonight. This was actually a really good week of football. Whether it was the Jacksonville, San Francisco game, the Bears, Raiders game, this game. I watched a lot of good football today. The 1 o'clock hour had some really good games too. The Giants and Chargers was a good game. The Bucks and the Eagles ended up being a really good game. Even though the Commanders lost, that was a fun game to watch, the Commanders and the Falcons. So it was some good football today. This one takes the cake, though. This one tops the list. And again, I don't know if we'll find a better, primetime game the rest of the season. 40-40, are you kidding me? I mean, yikes. That was a ton of fun. So what we'll do is we will get a word from our sponsor, Sleeper, as we will get into the skill game. We'll come back on the other side of that, and then we'll get to the comment section. But let's see how your boy did tonight. Spoiler alert, not very good. Let's go to the skill game, brought to you by Sleeper.
The skill game, brought to you by Sleeper.
So Sleeper is a fantasy sports and real money gaming app that focuses on bringing people together through sports and gaming. I myself am a massive fan of the Sleeper app. This, to me, is the best way to take your fandom to the next level. An opportunity for you to put some money in your pocket, to have some fun. And I always like to have a little extra something riding on these games. Now, what I will say is, during the day today, I wasn't always checking the app as much because I was so dialed in. But the sheet that you put together, the picks that you made, right? So let's take a look at what I did today. If you haven't already done so, do me a favor. Go over to the description of this video and every single video that I do. There's a link there that will allow you to download the Sleeper app if you don't already have it. If you already have it, then you're ahead of the game. All you have to then do at that point is use my promo code LTN to get you 100% match on a deposit up to $100. That's right, a dollar for dollar match. You put in 100, they're going to give you an additional 100 to use on the app. And again, it doesn't take much to get it done on this app. As a matter of fact, we're going to take a look at a $15 wager that I made tonight that I just came up short on. So as you can see, I thought Matthew Golden was going to have a big night, and he had a solid night, 58 yards. I was feeling myself after the first possession because I was talking about I expect him to get over the top multiple times on this stinking ass Cowboys defense. And then on the first possession, he gets over the top, and I'm like, and I thought he was like, that was one that he probably could have scored on. If there weren't two receivers in the same neighborhood, he might have scored on that play. Right? It kind of mucked up the situation, and then I would have had my anytime touchdown for him, right? So that one kind of backfired. I knew Josh Jacobs because he had like a 13 or 11, 12 game touchdown streak that was snapped last week at Cleveland. So I was like, well, no time like the present to start a new streak. So of course he was going to get in it. I got pissed off though because They got down to the one twice, not once, twice, and they went to Romeo dubs both times. And I knew the second time they were going to dubs. The first time they had the penalty. That pissed me off because they were going to give it to Josh Jacobs first. Then they had the penalty. Then he threw it to dubs, and it was a great throw by Jordan Love, and they ended up getting in the end zone. Then the second time they got down there, they ran the same formation they ran against the Commanders. They just flipped the side of the field. I said, oh, shit, they running that slant, the dubs. They setting it up. And sure enough, they ran the slant. So I saw that one coming. The third time they got down to the one, right? It was initially a touchdown to Tucker Kraft. Then they called it back and said it was down at the one. Then they get another damn, infraction that moves them back. I said, you stinking bastards. You really don't want Josh Jacobs to score this touchdown, huh? Then they just ran it 3 times in a row, and he got in. I was like, okay, never mind. And then he scored again, ultimately. So he ended up with 2 touchdowns tonight. I had him for more than a half a rush touchdown. So he got that. Jordan Love, I knew he was going to go. The number they gave me was 231.5. I was like, he's throwing for over 275 on his ass cheeks Cowboys defense. He threw for 337. He had 302 at the end of regulation. So I was good before overtime. So there was never any doubt he was going to destroy this Cowboys defense. Tolbert, I said, look, guys got to step up. There's no CeeDee Lamb. So Tolbert's got to step up. George Pickens has to step up. So I knew Tolbert was going to have more than the 2.5 catches. He had 4 tonight. Pickens, I said, look, 4.5. That's I need him to get 5 catches. He's going to have 5 catches. He had 8 catches for $134 and 2 touchdowns. He was outstanding. I did not anticipate Dallas scoring 90 touchdowns in this game. So this was one of those situations where it would have benefited me to take the kick points. His kick points were set at 7.5. He had 8 total kick points. I didn't anticipate Green Bay giving up the ass like they did tonight. I mean, they spread the cheeks wide for this Cowboys defense tonight. I was shocked. I'm not going to hold you. I expected Aubrey to kick at least 3 field goals tonight, at least a bare minimum of 3 field goals. They just kept scoring touchdowns. It's like I kept waiting for Green Bay to get a 3rd down stop and force Dallas to kick a field goal so he could just knock this out. I didn't think this was something I needed to worry about, and it just never happened. So again, I felt like I put together some tremendous picks. The golden one felt like I had a shot early in the game. He never really they don't look for him down by the goal line. Now I know like Dubs is a guy that Jordan Love is looking for down in the red zone. If I had to do it over again, I probably would sub him out. I just thought he was going to have a big game, and he had a chance to. But Aubrey, I'm shocked that he didn't hit that. But once again, my head, I got everything I need, and just the execution didn't go the way that I expected it to. But I'm getting close. But as we know, this is not horseshoes, right? Almost doesn't count. Almost doesn't count. I know. Almost don't count. So I'll be back at it tomorrow. I'll be back at it tomorrow. 2 games. So I'll have the skill game for you times 2 tomorrow. Because we got 2 games tomorrow. And hopefully I can get on the winning track tomorrow. But I gave it a run tonight, and I just didn't get it done. So, but once again, this is so much fun. And this was a $931 opportunity on just $15. Okay. There is money here to be made. And I love the fact, like, if you go back here, you see this boost, 40% boost. So you put your picks together, you put your sheet together, and then you can use, like, they have these different boosts, not to mention they got these multipliers. There's so many things that can put you in a position to put a lot of money in your pocket. What are you waiting on? Download the app if you haven't already done so. If you already have the app, use my promo code LTN to get you 100% match on a deposit up to $100. So you can get in the game and turn any and every day potentially into payday. So shout out to the Sleeper app for enhancing all of our football watching experience. So that, my friends, is the skill game brought to you by Sleeper.
The skill game brought to you by Sleeper.
All right, so let's get to the comment section and see what you guys are talking about. What a game. What a game. What a game. What a game. DC fan 88. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Is this a real question? This is not a real question. I think you're being facetious here. You're tongue in cheek. Yeah, the defense was ass. And this is shades of the John Boombastic days. I get your joke. I heard your jokes. Okay. Hey, funny. Ha ha. You made a funny. I think I got all of these members already. I don't think any of these are new members, so we'll go straight to my guy Chris McLaughlin. Thank you for being a member for 34 months. My guy C-Mac writes, "Hey Lou, hope all is well with you and the family. Likewise, as always. 3 questions. 1, who do you have winning the AFC North?" That's a great question. I still believe now Lamar Jackson has a hamstring injury. He did not finish the game today. Even if they had just lost and Lamar was still healthy, I was still picking the Ravens. If Lamar Jackson is out, which he probably is going to be out for a little while here, I guess I might have to go with the Steelers. The Steelers aren't good. Like, there isn't a team in that division that I believe in right now. I still believe in the Ravens more than anybody else right now, but without Lamar Jackson, I don't believe in them either. So I guess I have to go with the Steelers for right now, but you tell me that it's a mild strain for Lamar Jackson on his hamstring and he might only miss 2 games and it can somehow win one of those 2 games and they're at 2-4. Give me the Ravens, right? And he comes back and he's perfectly fine and he's healthy and he's Lamar Jackson. Give me the Ravens. Because I don't believe in the Steelers. We know the Bengals aren't going to be able to get it done without Joe Burrow, and the Browns can't score. They still have quarterback issues. So I have to, as a default right now, just go with the Steelers, but they're not good. So, yeah, I go with the Steelers right now, but I still think the Ravens are the best of that division, despite their slow start. Says, 2, what is the number 1 issue with the defense? Scheme, personnel, or execution, or why? And why? The number 1 issue with the defense right now is, first of all, yes, personnel is the number 1 thing. They want to play a certain way and they don't have the personnel to do it. So yeah, you start with personnel, but guess what? You know what your personnel is. So that's not an excuse. You're not able to lean on the fact that, oh, we don't have this or we don't have that. You went out and you acquired these players. You know what you have. So you have to adjust your style of play to what you have, right? That's what a good coordinator does. Is it takes the parts that it has and it adjusts to what they have. You don't complain about what you don't have. You make do with what you do have. So personnel is at the top of the pile, but we know what the personnel is. So let's move that aside, right? And you go straight to scheme. The scheme, I think all of these things, it's a combination of all of these things. I think personnel is at the top of the pile. Scheme is not that far behind. And then they're not executing at a high level at all. But the scheme is a loser scheme. It's a loser scheme. It's one that puts these guys in positions to fail on a weekly basis. And it's up to Joe Witt to find a way to get them to play better. And he's going to say that at his press conference on Wednesday. It's my job to get them to play better. And I will. He's going to say that. And it is his job to do that. But he's not out there, playing zone coverage and playing his soft ass, loose ass zone coverage. That's the players doing that shit. So again, it's all of those things. Really, it is. He said, and 3, when do you expect Terry back? I'm not a doctor, and I didn't sleep at a Holiday Inn last night. Look, I'm the guy that said that Jaden was going to be back 2 weeks ago, that Jaden was going to be back this week. So you can't ask me. I don't know. I know a lot of you know who Dr. Chow is. He's a social media doctor. He's a real doctor, and he worked for an NFL team for a lot of years, and he's on social media. And every time an injury happens, we go to Dr. Chow and to see what he thinks. And he talked about Jaden, and he talked about Terry. And he doesn't seem to think it's going to be very serious for Terry, but he does think he's going to miss at least 2 games, at least 2 weeks. So that was one. They expect him to at least miss one more. And then you could start having a conversation about him potentially being back going into week 6. So my guess is somewhere in that week 6, week 7 time frame. Hopefully we'll get a lot of our stuff back by the time I've got the week 6 game circled on the calendar for everybody but Jaden. Jaden needs to be back next week, but everybody else, Noah Brown, John Bates, Terry McLaurin. I got that Chicago game because it's an extra day because that's a Monday night game. I've got that one circled on the calendar as the one where everybody needs to be back. And then, we could even start having a conversation about Sam Cosmi. This week, Sam Cosmi can officially have his window open. We'll see when they decide to do that. I keep saying the Dallas game in week 7, he could be back for that week 6 game too. And it could be this big reunion, a family reunion. It's a family reunion. Could be week 6. Hey, the whole family get back together, man. Everybody come on back. That would be great. But in the meantime, we got to find a way to win in week 5. So we'll see what happens. My guy, Christopher McLaughlin, once again, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, "Hey, Lou, I don't see the Eagles losing more than 4 games if healthy. Packers, Bills, Commanders, Chargers. Don't see us winning the division. Thoughts? Also, who is the second best team in the AFC and why?" So I don't really worry about the Eagles, too much. I just worry about us. Like whatever happens with the Eagles, of course, I'm watching their games, I'm watching the Cowboys games, Giants games, etc. You always keep your family members close, but I'm not concerned about what they're doing. Like nothing about, and again, they keep winning. So like we always have to preference everything we say about the Eagles with, hey, they win. And that's the most important thing. But none of their wins have been super impressive. Like Jalen Hurts had less than 200 yards of total offense again today. Like AJ Brown, I don't know if you guys saw his cryptic, post on social media, but he's not happy. And so he's starting shit again. This is why I love these diva receivers, because the team is winning, but he's not happy. And look, nobody wants to be out there running cardio. Like we saw Terry last year, not happy after a win. We saw Terry not happy after a loss. So, like, I don't want to make it seem like A.J. Brown's the only receiver in the league that's not happy even after a win, but they're 4-0, though. It's different. It's levels to this shit. Like, Terry was upset during a 3-game loser streak where he wasn't getting involved. We get it. The Eagles are a good football team. We know that. They play team football, but the defense isn't as good as it was last year. This offense isn't nearly as good as it was last year. And their special teams has bailed them out early on in the season. Bailed them out last week, bailed them out again this week. Without special teams this week, without defensive turnovers forced this week, they would have lost the game again. So I can't co-sign that the Eagles will only lose 4 games. I don't know how many games they're going to lose. But we got to worry about us, because if we're not winning games, it don't matter what the hell the Eagles do. So we just got to worry about us. I haven't ruled the division out. When you got one of them ones at quarterback, anything's possible. So I expect our demon to come back on full-fledged demon time. Demon time. Even without a less than full deck of cards, he about to start shuffling some shit when he come back and dealing on these hoes. So I'm not ruling out a damn thing. But we'll see what happens. One at a time, 1 week at a time. I'm not looking forward, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, none of that shit. It's the Chargers. We got to get back in the win column. That's all I'm concerned about at this point. So we'll see what happens. Tony, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Tony writes, Dallas has way better receivers. Pickens would be our number 1. He would be our number 1 based off of what we have right now. Like with Terry healthy, he wouldn't be our number 1 wide receiver. I don't think George Pickens is better than Terry McLaurin, but he's younger. But I wouldn't want George Pickens on my team. I've already told you that. Some guys are worth the headache. Some guys aren't. He's not worth the headache to me. I don't, and I can't deal with his level of immaturity. It's like it's levels to this shit. He'll say he's the type of guy that'll say some shit that we said we don't want it outside the locker room, and he'll go to the media and slip up and say the shit because he's just it ain't here with him. You know what I'm saying? Like last year when the Steelers didn't want anybody to know who was their starting quarterback, he's like, "Yeah, I was catching some balls with Russ today." Like dumb. They hadn't disclosed if Russ was starting. At that time, Justin Fields was the starter. Russ hadn't come back yet, and there was still a question as to who was going to start. And you want to have that cloudiness around that particular position because now they got to prepare for, will Russ play? Is it going to be Fields? Because that's two totally different quarterbacks. And here comes Dum up to the mic. Yeah, I was catching footballs from Russell Wilson today. Okay, guy. Thanks a lot. And Russell Wilson obviously did start that week. So, again, that kind of incompetence I can't deal with. In addition to him being a crash out. So you don't know if he's going to do what he did tonight or if he's going to do the shit he did last week where he's got balls bouncing off his hands for interceptions. You don't know which one's going to happen. So, yeah, I'm good on him. But y'all also, this is what y'all got to stop playing. This team has better than this of us, and we just started. Dallas been at it, building their roster for the last 15 years. They got the same dudes running the show over there that they've had running the show for the last 30 years. Good or bad, at least it's consistent, okay? The Eagles have had Howie Roseman running the show for damn near 20 years. Stop. You can't compare. Our shit just started last year. You can't be looking at other teams' rosters and saying, they're better than us. Of course they are. We just got started. We tore our entire roster down last year, and we just started building this shit up. We just started. We won't be better than many teams at very many positions. You just got to keep acquiring pieces that you know these are pieces that we can keep that are a part of the movement. You got to keep finding the Trey Amoses of the world. You already got a Jaden Daniels. We feel like Mikey Samer still is one of those pieces. Although he needs to play better, but he got a pick today. And he's a guy, one of the few playmakers that we have on this defense. I'm a big Mike Stainville fan. I don't think he's being utilized properly. But you got to keep finding those pieces. Keep acquiring those and keep building and building, brick by brick, piece by piece. Kevin, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Kevin writes, JL showed me a lot in this game. Jordan Love. Came clutch, especially in that fourth down. As much as I highly rate MLF, he called a soft game, put us in spots to lose. He's talking about Matt LaFleur. I thought your defensive coordinator put you in some tough spots tonight. And Jeff Hafley, who all Packers fans swear about Jeff Hafley, right? Like, he's a head coach, and I think he might be a head coach. He's been killing it. He was awful tonight. He was awful. There was no CeeDee Lamb. You had to find a way to slow this offense down. Couldn't stop the run consistently tonight. Couldn't stop the pass, clearly. Like, this wasn't on Matt LaFleur. Now, I thought he could have been more aggressive in overtime, to go win the game. I thought he was too, worried about, is Dallas going to have time to get a field? And I get that shit. I mean, when you got a kicker on the other side that might be able to kick the bitch from 68, you got to be mentally aware of not giving them any time. But you need to be trying to win the game in that situation. Like these little hitches and shit that they were throwing that forced you to use your last time out. Like, I don't love those play calls. Like, let Jordan Love attack down the field. They haven't stopped him all night from doing that. Attack towards the end zone, not this horizontal shit. Let him attack vertically like he had been doing. I did think he got a little conservative in overtime. That's the only time I felt like he was too conservative. I thought he could have got a little bit closer on the field goal at the end of regulation, but that didn't matter. That was like they felt confident in what, as long as it was center cut, they felt good about what they were going to get from Brandon McManus. So I thought they could have been more aggressive in overtime, Kevin, though. Like you could have won the game. Yeah. So I did feel like that was he left a lot to be desired in that department there. John Cedillo, my guy. John, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy John writes, "What's up, Lou? What's up, John?" Says, while the tie leaves a bad taste, glad it didn't result in a drubbing. Defense still stinks and can't rush, but ground game seems more legit. Yeah, I mean, this could have gotten ugly for sure. It was 13-0 on the verge of being 14-0. And who knows what happens if that extra point doesn't get blocked. This might turn into a straight ass whooping. But instead, it turned into an epic classic shootout. And yeah, a tie leaves you feeling unsatisfied, but it beats the alternative. You could have lost this game. You could have got blown out in this game. Neither of those things happened. And so there are no moral victories, though. Like if you ever get to the point where you're okay with the tie, that means you've hit a pretty low point as a fan. You should never be okay with the tie or a loss, right? But given the circumstances, knowing that this defense stinks, the Packers have been one of the better defenses in football this season, and the way this game started, you could easily convince yourself that, hey, look, man, I'll take a 40-40 tie. With the way this thing was going through about a quarter and 3/4 of a half, yeah, no, this thing could have gotten out of hand very, very quickly. And this could have turned into a rout in one of those games where everybody's talking about the Cowboys and shitting on Jerry Jones. And, you're the laughingstock of the league in front of a national audience. Because I've already told you, this game we're going to find out in about a day or two. This was the highest rated game and the most watched game on Sunday Night Football in, 15 years or in its history, right? We're going to find that out tomorrow or Tuesday. So you didn't want to get your ass kicked in front of all those people. It's already tough enough being a Cowboys fan as is, right, John? You didn't need anything added to the plate, right? So at the end of the day, the defense absolutely is garbage can juice. But I do think you can stop the run. Tonight was an aberration. You didn't stop it as well as you had been, but I do think you have the pieces to stop the run. You just can't get after the quarterbacks, man. Not consistently enough, at least. And that's your biggest problem because you're not holding up on the back end. And those two are tied together. If you can't get pressure, then you got to have your guys be all world in the secondary. And that's the same problem my team has, is that either we're hit or miss at getting at the quarterback. Either we're destroying and devouring your offensive line and you don't have time, or you're blocking the shit out of our guys and our back end can't hold up without some sort of pressure. And so that's kind of where you find yourself, is if you're not getting pressure on the quarterback, which you haven't pretty much through 4 games, your back end isn't going to hold up. And if your back end can't hold up, you've got a big dilemma on your hands. It's the chicken or the egg, right? Which one comes first? Pass rush or the secondary defense? Well, they go hand in hand. Whatever one you think comes first, cool, but both need to be working in unison with each other. And right now, neither of them are working for the Cowboys. So you find yourself in a tough spot. My guy, John, thank you for the super chat once again. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, to clarify, these games are frustrating because it was there to be had. Being so close after the Tolbert catch and having to settle for the field goal. Yeah, that one was rough because it felt like you had all the momentum at that point of the game. In overtime, you start with the football, you get the big Tolbert catch, and it feels like you're about to go in and apply immense pressure on Green Bay. Because if you get the touchdown to start overtime, they already know. This is why you want the ball last, right? So you know what it is you have to do. But it's different if the team that gets it first scores a touchdown. That's immense pressure. Because now it's 4 down territory all the way down the field, and you got to score a touchdown. It's a lot different when you settle for a field goal, and now it's 4 down territory because you got to get a field goal, but you still have a chance to win the game. So they literally had everything in front of them because you kicked the field goal instead of scoring a touchdown. So you're not wrong. Like, we can take it a step further, though. The game was there to be won at 4th and 6. Just get a stop. One stop. And you couldn't do that. You couldn't do it. But again, you're asking this defense to do something that you know they're not capable of doing. So, you can't be upset when the defense does what the defense does, which is give up plays, right? But yeah, it gets definitely frustrating when, one, it's frustrating when you tie a game, and two, it's frustrating when it's there to be had. You can reach that's why a tie is so infuriating, is because you start playing a lot of plays back in your mind. And I remember when my team, the first tie that I really like, not the first tie, the first tie that I really, as a fan, remember being a part of was the Gus Frerotte tie on a Sunday night against the Giants, 7-7. But the tie against the Bengals over in London is one where you just start playing a bunch of plays back in your head and you're like, God damn it. Then we just had a tie recently back in 2021 against the Giants, or 2022, excuse me, against the Giants. And you start playing all the plays back in your head and sequences and how did you get here? And so ties suck because it's one play here, one play there, just like any other game, right? When you lose a game, it's a play here, it's a play there. If it's close, that's how you lose games. Right? You don't make those plays, and you play those plays back in your mind. So, yeah, you guys had momentum there and weren't able to close the show. JD Sports Talk, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. JD writes, saw a ridiculous stat that the Giants won 70% of their matchups in pass rush win rate. Commanders not that. Dart looks like the real deal. Have to win versus the Chargers. Dart was solid today. I wouldn't, classify him as the real deal. He showed something. The one thing that Dart brought to the table today that Russell Wilson didn't is the ability to run. He was active with his legs. That was the difference. Dart threw for 111 yards. Let's not sit here and act like Jackson Dart was out here carving up the Chargers. That's a good Chargers defense. Okay, let's start there. That's a really good defense that he played against today, which is why I was against starting a young man today, because that's a really good defense that can confuse a young quarterback. But he threw for 111 yards. Where he shined today was using his legs. And the hammy tightened up. I don't know how much he's going to be able to endure, like running. They ran him like a damn running back. They treated him like a damn college QB today. Like they a bunch of quarterback keeps, designed runs, and he was getting his ass hit today. I don't know how much, he can take of that because he wasn't protecting himself well. But ultimately, he got it done. And that's the most important thing. Good for him. Big win, obviously. And what they did today has nothing to do with us. We're not them. I said this earlier today. We're not the Giants. Their defense is 10 times better than our defense is. So don't look at what the Giants did against the Chargers today and say, we need to do that. No, we don't need to do that. We can't do that. We don't have Brian Burns. We don't have Abdul Carter. We don't have Dexter Lawrence. We don't have the pieces that they have. Their linebackers are better. Well, their linebackers are more athletic than our linebackers are. Well, they're missing McFadden. He's out. I'm assuming he got hurt in week 1 against us. I'm assuming he's out. But Okereke is better than, more athletically gifted than any of our linebackers. And their secondary, specifically their safeties. I don't really love their corners, but their safeties way better than our safeties. Way more athletic than our safeties. And Drew Phillips, say what you want about him. He had a big pick today. I don't love him in coverage, but he's a demon. They're just built different on defense. That's not us. So you can't expect our defense to do what their defense did against the Chargers, because they can apply pressure with 4. They can affect the game with just 4 guys. Maybe, just maybe we can do that next week because the Chargers offensive line is in flux right now with all the injuries. But I'm not holding my breath. Now, something that the Chargers did do that I don't expect us to do, they gave up a bunch of yards to the Giants on the ground. The Giants' run defense stinks. They gave up a bunch of yards on the ground to Omari and Hampton. He had a game today. We can't let that shit happen. We got to force Justin Herbert to beat us. And shit, he's fully capable, as we know. He's fully capable. But we got to try to apply pressure on him. We got to hit him. We got to harass him, and hope that he makes a mistake or two. But we don't force mistakes. Like, who are we kidding? All we can do is hope that our demon comes back on demon time next week and we ride his coattails. If the defense helps, great. If special teams chips in, wahoo, right? But ultimately, it's on 5. I hate that we're back here, but here we are. We're back here again, relying on 5. But that's what you do when you got one of them ones at quarterback. That's where we at. Anyhow, I digress. That's the last comment. It's late, so I'm going to got another comment here from my guy, John Cedillo. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, John writes, speaking of the 4th and 6th in overtime, Green Bay attacked the middle of the field without the linebackers. Regardless of what happens this season, one of the first rounders has to be a linebacker alongside an edge. And you'd feel differently about that if DeMarvion Overshown was healthy, but he's not. So, yeah, I feel you on that. But if he's healthy, he changes everything so drastically for you over the middle of the football field. But you can't count on him. That's 2 years that he's been, hurt 2 times in his career, young NFL career. He's had major injuries. So you can't count on him to stay healthy. The best case scenario for you is he's Thomas Davis, right? Thomas Davis had 2 devastating knee injuries early in his career in Carolina and ultimately came back. I think he ultimately tore the same ACL 3 times. I could be wrong. But I knew he tore it twice with Carolina. He might have torn it once at Georgia too. But either way, he ended up having a long, really good career in Carolina. And that's all you can hope for Marvion Overshown is that he comes back fully healthy, stays healthy, doesn't have any more issues. But you probably are going to have to draft one. Guess what you got? A bunch of first-round picks. So there's that, right? Could have done yourself a favor and beat the Packers and improved your draft status. But you couldn't get it done today. But all Cowboys fans, and Jerry has said that he's all in on improving the team using those picks. I wouldn't do that if I were you guys trying to, push your chips to the center of the table necessarily. Keep drafting players. You're signing all these guys to contracts. You need cheap labor. So I would, try to find young talent in the draft. But yeah, you're going to need an edge like Dante Fowler Jr. As you see for what he did with the Commanders, he's not doing that for you guys this year. Right. So Donovan Ezeraku is going to be a player, but at what level? Is he a B grade? Is he a C grade pass rusher? He's got some juice clearly, but he's also undersized. Could he be, Elvis Dumerville down the road? Maybe, but you're definitely going to need some more juice off the edge. So linebacker is definitely on the list for you guys. Edge rusher is on the list. I think you might need to do something at corner too. Kaiir Elam is not the answer. I know you just paid Bland. I know you paid Trayvon Diggs. I don't know, man. You might need to do something at corner too, but who knows? Maybe corner, you got some guys out here that can make plays at corner. And we didn't think anything of DaRon Bland until DaRon Bland became DaRon Bland. So we'll see. Maybe there's another guy out there that you guys have. But in any event, that is the last super chat. And that is going to do it for me, your man, Louie T, here on this installment of Sunday Night Football Overtime. What a dandy we got tonight, or if you're on the East Coast, last night. Wow. A 40-40 tie. between the Packers and the Cowboys. What a thrilling game. This was a 16-13 game at halftime. There were, I think, 40-something points between the two teams scored in the fourth quarter. Let me check and see. There were 31 points scored in the fourth quarter between the two teams. 31 points. There were 45 points total scored in the second half of this game. 45 points total in the second half. And if you include overtime, 51 points total scored by the two teams. Unbelievable. Unreal. Hell of a football game. Worth the price of admission. It was hyped up. You knew it was going to, again, Jerry's World, America's team, Micah Parsons, the return. You knew they were going to hype it up. And for once, one of these epic matchups lived up to the billing. It's rare that happens in the NFL, but it happened tonight. And if you're a Commanders fan, Eagles fan, Giants fan, you're Lions fan, Vikings fan, Bears fan, whomever, and it ended in a tie. It doesn't get much better than that. You know what I mean? It doesn't get much better than that. Not only did you get an epic game, but nobody won. Best of both worlds. So unless you're a fan of one of these two teams, then that sucks. But anyway, I enjoyed this game thoroughly. This was a lot of fun. And I don't think we'll see a better game played on primetime this year than that dandy we got tonight, 40-40, a tie between the Packers and the Cowboys. So with that said, you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. I am going to continue to sulk in today's loss from my Commanders. I'm going to watch some press conferences, listen to people talk, get more pissed off, have a few more drinks, drink my problems away, and then go to bed. You enjoy the rest of your evening, whatever that looks like, and I will reconvene with you tomorrow. We got to get active tomorrow. We got 2 Monday night games, not 1, 2 Monday night games tomorrow. So you'll get 2 skill games out of me. Hopefully I can get, and because the Chargers won or lost today, a number of people probably got eliminated. I can't remember what the exact count was, but a number of people probably got eliminated from the survivor pool. So kudos to the Giants for helping out in that regard. I told you last week that once the Packers lost, that's when the pool began, and you're going to start to see some of these results happen. It happened again. So looking forward to seeing what that looks like. But in any event, I'm just trying to stay away from the piss cup at this point. I might be on the verge of sipping from the piss cup again. It's been rough for the kid this season, but everything can be made okay if I can win the survivor pool. So cheers to another week of surviving. In any event, y'all enjoy the rest of y'all night. Y'all take care. You know what it is. God bless. Good night. Peace. I saw your comment just now. Yeah, I was watching the game at the end. Cam Curl had the game-sealing pick against Indianapolis. He had 2 picks. I don't regret anything. But remember, when they got here, I said Cam Curl is the type of player that I feel like would fit in their defense. He's a smart football player. He's a guy that's always around the ball. He didn't make plays when he was here. I don't want to make it seem like he makes plays because he wasn't a playmaker, but he was always around the ball. And I just felt like a guy with his skill set would have fit good in this defense. But they didn't want him. They made a choice. They allowed him to walk in free agency, and it is what it is. I don't regret it. Good for him. I got no beef with Cam Curl, and it was good to see him out there making plays. So there you have it.